Drudge fought the TSA and Drudge won is our article. But let's first look at this New York Times article. A media false alarm over the TSA. David Carr. So he excoriates all the media. Now listen to this. If a squadron of mad scientists surrounded by supercomputers gathered in a laboratory to try to conjure a single news topic that would blow up large, they could not touch the TSA pat-down story. See? It isn't a squadron of mad scientists conjuring the biggest story ever. It was this radio show, kicked off a month ago. Day after day, Drudge only carried our stories, then others picked up on it, feeding frenzy, and now they had to capitulate. I told you a month ago this was a key enemy weakness. You are now the squadron of mad scientists. How does it feel? See, the globalists have their mad scientists in media. They're mad they don't control what the issues are. They'd rather have us talking about Lindsay Lohan, not real issues, and they're mad. The New York Times is discredited. If the New York Times wonders why they've lost all credibility, these are the folks that helped lie about imaginary WMDs in Iraq. These are the people telling us the sky's falling if we don't pay Al Gore billions of dollars for the privilege to breathe, the oceans are going to rise and kill us. And this article goes on to admit that this story is super gigantic, but says it's all a fraud and that the TSA needs to stick their hands down our pants. I mean, it's just establishment tripe. If a squadron of mad scientists surrounded by supercomputers gathered in a laboratory to try to conjure a single news topic that would blow up large, they could not touch the TSA pat-down story. And it goes on to say it began with the Drudge Report and then spread from there. And I talked to a lot of my crew who came up separately, Aaron Dykes and others, and said that over Thanksgiving with their families, and a lot of family that didn't even really know what their job is, all they wanted to talk about was the TSA and how much they can't stand it. Look, nobody likes being barked at and having hands stuck down their pants or having to take out prosthesis. Or women. I mean, here's the report. Sanitary towel prompts TSA grope to sexual assault victim. And then it links to the New York Times and all the cases of it. I mean, they literally call women aside and say, what's that? And the woman in front of everybody's got to say, well, I mean, it's a tampon. It's a maxi pad. I mean, this is a joke, people. What more will you put up with? It's like Ron Paul said last week. If we'll put up with this, we'll put up with anything. When is enough enough? When is enough enough? When is enough enough? When are we going to start realizing it's a fraud? The illegal aliens are above the law, folks. They get to drunk drive. They get to use fake IDs. They get to do whatever they want. But then Willie Nelson's arrested for some marijuana on his bus. That's like Santa Claus getting arrested for having some presents in his bag, in the sleigh. A guy in Florida gets arrested for putting his hands over his face while police beat him for no reason. That's confirmed on the video. And with a straight face, they say, yeah, we're charging him. I mean, it's crazy. Foreign bankers get to steal tens of trillions of dollars. They never get in trouble, but Willie Nelson gets to go to jail. The government, local, state, federal, gets to break laws constantly and just be above the law. I was listening to the radio this morning and saw it in the news of up in McKinney, Texas, a teacher spanks the kids with a paddle. And they now are talking about, they have suspended her. Will she get fired? And the local talk show hosts were defending the paddlings. I've heard those very same talk show hosts talk about taking people's kids if their parents spank them. It's not illegal to spank your children. But how does the government suspend a teacher over paddling people, but then there's no discussion of the person even going to jail when the government will come and arrest parents who paddle their children? When there's not even a law that you can't paddle. You can't cause physical harm. You can certainly discipline them. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, back when people did get paddled by their teachers, I remember in kindergarten. First grade. In first grade at public school, not doing what I was told, and a few times being taken in the teacher's office and shown a paddle. And the third time that I didn't do what I was told, a few months later, I was given a paddling, and believe me, I didn't do it anymore. I mean, how did we go from 31 years ago, Alex Emmerich Jones getting paddled in the first grade? But let me tell you, the coaches figured out, who were also the principals and teachers in Rockwall, they figured out real fast that I didn't care about being paddled. I was afraid of being run. But because I was in sports, they were allowed to run me. And let me tell you, running me up and down the bleachers till I threw up outside at the sports stadium. You know, instead, oh, no. We let the kids all go crazy, and then the police come and taser them and take them to a juvenile facility where older youth rape them. See, instead of paddling people and running them till they throw up, because humans are just like dogs. That's why we get along with dogs. And a dog doesn't respect you when it's a puppy until you have placed it in its place, until you have let it know. And you can paddle it with a newspaper that isn't even painful, but it's the act of domination. Then it respects you and does what you say and appreciates it. But by the time that dog grows up to be 2 years old, you can beat it with a 2x4. It's not going to listen to you. And the social engineers knew this. They know that. They train people not to do discipline when we're little, so we turn into animals later, and we got to have a big police state to deal with it. But that's the double standard in government. Let's talk to George in Connecticut. George, you're on the air. Welcome.
Hi, Alex. I'm just wondering, we got to push for this S510 bill. We can't let them take away our right to food. I was thinking on a few angles on it. One, if they start putting all sorts of nonsense, like animal things, bug things in there, the Jews should be going crazy on this. How can you have kosher food anymore? And the Christians should be going crazy on this, because what about, taking away our right to, buy or sell type of thing?
Well, that's right. I mean, meanwhile, the FDA is in the process of approving GMO salmon that's part other fish and insect. It shouldn't even be able to be called salmon. It should be called, cloned hybrid creature. Chimera is what its true name is. And instead of that, they're moving to not even let you know it's GMO. It's like when corn is part insect. It should be called insect corn. But meanwhile, they want to take over all the farms and ranches and not let you even can your own food, when all the big agri problems are from big mega agri farms, not the small farms. It's about a total clampdown on society.
One thing I also had an idea. Why not link three stories together, these three bills, the 510, the one for obliterating our rights on the Internet, and also obliterating our rights to stop these banks from the fraudulent things, and put it together something like how the Democrats are trying to obliterate their party from ever coming back, and some sort of fascism, something like that. Maybe they'll get the idea that passing these bills is totally suicidal for the entire party.
Well, it is, and I appreciate your call. Great points, George. Look, what's happening in the U.S. is happening all over the world in every other country. It's just different nations are at different stages. And what you see happening in Greece and in Ireland, with total takeover by foreign banks of their entire country, their government, their taxes being raised, their benefits being cut, that's now coming to the U.S. with the announcement that veterans are going to have their insurance cut, veterans are going to have their pensions cut, government employees are going to have their pay frozen, which, again, sounds reasonable. The government is too big. But you start with the mega bankers. That's the lion's share. You don't fix that, nothing's fixed. And I am for cutting government jobs, period. I am for freezing government wages, including Congress. But it's a stunt if you don't go after the banks. Now, not giving the veterans health care when they signed the agreement and they were supposed to get it, that is wrong, and I'm against it. But again, the average neocon or liberal will be like, oh, I bought phone cards for vets to call home on the holidays. Oh, I put a flag out front my house. Okay, great. How about you really do something? How about you really speak out about what's happening to the veterans, okay? Not just put window dressing on it. Damon in South Carolina, thanks for holding her on the air.
Alex, how you doing, buddy?
Good.
I prefer Evan Williams myself. I talked to you about a month ago when we were talking about the backscatter scanners, and you were going to go to me at the end of the show, and we had some technical difficulties. But what I wanted to follow up with you on is I think they're going to warm these backscatter scanners back up real soon. I'm a medical dosimetrist. I work with radiation all day long, taking care of cancer patients. And basically, a couple points I want to share with you. One, these TSA workers, they don't have a clue when it comes to delivering radiation or the machines that go with it. And if they start really upping the usage of these things, all you got to do is have one of those buttons stick where they zap you. And, you're going to be getting dosed standing in that little chamber, and they're not even going to know what's going on, and they're going to cook someone right there. That's what it's going to take, is for someone to just completely get fried because they're like, oh, the image won't work.
And by the way, the New York Times even admitted massive brain tumors confirmed from MRIs, and people's hair is falling out everywhere because there's no regulation now, and they're coming out with super high-powered ones, and they're sticking.
I mean, in every state you need a license to cut hair, but you're going to let some schmuck at $10 an hour at the TSA blast you with radiation, and it's for your safety and, the name of preventing terrorism.
Ooh, right? That's beautifully said. You got to have a license to sell lemonade or cut hair, but you got people, these near minimum wage federal minions sticking their hands down your pants.
I mean, TSA admits they hire if they need to fill 20 positions, they hire the first 20 applicants.
It's in the news. Mainstream news reports they're hiring sexual assaulters and stalkers. That's who they want.
They're doing a great job vetting these people, I'll tell you what. Now, listen, here's my other point. You can buy man-made crystals that are used by these radiation monitoring companies. All my coworkers and I have to wear these badges that show how much exposure we get every month because people who work with radiation are allowed to get a little bit more than the general public, okay? And they're called optically stimulated luminescence. So little man-made crystals that if you expose them to radiation and then you develop it kind of like a film afterwards, it'll tell you exactly what kind of dose you get. Well, I'm traveling to Europe this winter with my wife, and what I'm planning on doing is getting some of these, and they're really small. And I'm going to take
Stay there. I want to hear about this. Wow, always great taking calls. Stay there, Dave. I'm going to come back to you and try to jam in a few other calls. We'll be right back. Infowars.com. Finish up your point about the luminescent crystals. You're going to try to get a reading off of it?
Yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to order some of these, and I'm going to just do my own little personal study here. And if they put me through it, and I'm going to get scanned going over, and I'm also going to be over in the former Soviet Union, so if they have them over there, I'm going to see what they're dosing people with, and then get them developed, and then get a true reading, because the TSA website says that it gives 10 micro-REM per dose, per scan, which, the problem with that is, they don't give because they don't figure the public will know about it, they don't give all the information as they're coming up with that number, like your skin dose versus your eye dose. I mean, your eyes, you'll get cataracts after a certain amount of, 200 centigrade, to your lenses can lead to cataracts. And that doesn't happen overnight. That takes over years.
Sure, that's why people that work in reactors that or nuclear subs get it. Even though it's supposedly shielded, it gives you cataracts. But it's worse than that. It came out, even in the New York Times, that it's 20 to 50 times, depending on the machine, what they'd previously said. And they're just completely lying about this. Plus, I've seen the TSA release photos. Have you noticed that when it shows the hands, you can see the bones?
Yeah. These images are not something where you're getting some little light dose. They're totally full of it. And they're not counting on someone like me to be awake, after listening to someone like you and add data. The important point here is this. They say that the dose you get from the scan is equal to about 2 minutes of flight time at altitude. But what you have to understand is that, 10 micro-REM is about 1,000th of the allowable dose for the year. So if you take the number that way, well, if you're on I'm going to be on a 10-hour flight over to Europe. So every 2 minutes, if I'm getting 10 micro-REM at altitude, then, all you got to do is rack up enough minutes of that, and you've met your annual allowance as a member of society, not a radiation worker. And they're dosing you with those scanners every time to get on and off the plane now. Getting off the plane is ridiculous, but to get on, And at the end of the day, it's just like they're just juicing you up with radiation. And anybody who's studied radiation or works in a radiation field knows the rule is as low as reasonably achievable. And they haven't caught any terrorists in the last 9 years, and these X-ray scanners aren't going to help anymore either.
Listen, we're out of time. You ought to make a YouTube video, Damon. You're very articulate. You've got the facts. We need radiologists and people that work in radiology to all make YouTube videos, to write articles. It'll be up on the Drudge Report and other places. When the people start being heard, there's nothing the globalists can do to stop us.